So let us look at the verse. So this is we're doing 3 verses today. Oh wait, that's 39. Oh yeah, that's the one, right? Yeah, that's the first one. Okay, let me just okay. So Jivasya ya samsarato vimokshanam najanaton artha bahach chari rataha lilavatarai swayasha pradipakam prajvalayat tva tam aham prapadye. So jivasya means the us, the conditioned living being. Ya is referring to, he's talking to Krishna. Samsarata is us who are caught in the cycle of birth and death. And vimokshana, we know the word moksha, liberation. Najanata, not knowing. Anarta, we know what that is, unwanted things. Although anarta is a place. There's a devotee, I think Satsuma disciple or Prabhupada disciple named Anarta. So when I first heard that, I said, "What? She's she was called an unwanted thing?" No, it's a place in India, Anart. Bahat, which brings Sarirata from sort of like Sharira Avijajal, from the material body. Lila, we know what that means, pastimes. Avatarai, like avatar, right? Appearance in this world. Swa, his own. Yasha, we know that means fame. Pradipakam, the torch. Prajva layat, made to blaze. Twa, again, and then tam, to my Lord. Aham, I surrender. Prapadye. The living being caught in the cycle of birth and death does not know how he can be delivered from the material body, which brings him so much trouble. But you, the Supreme Lord, and we know that, right? The body gives us trouble, and because in the Bhagavad Gita it also says that there's 6 senses, right? So it's not just 5, and probably the biggest one that gives us trouble is the mind. So even if we say, no, I'm really healthy, I'm fit, I go to the gym every day, I walk 10,000 steps, yeah, but the mind. So as Frank Zappa once said, there you go, I'll just to make from a tear to happy. What is it? The what's the ugliest part of your body? Some say it's your toes, some say it's your nose, but I say it's your mind. But you, the Supreme Lord, descend to this world in various. So he says, okay, this is all the problems, but then he says the solution. But you, the Supreme Lord, descend to this world in various personal forms, and by performing your pastimes, you illuminate the soul's path with the blazing torch of your fame. Therefore, I surrender unto you. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Narada said, in the bodily concept of existence, everyone is driven by material desires, and thus everyone develops new material bodies, one after another, in the cycle of birth and death, being, or as I say in New York, being absorbed in such a concept of existence, one does not know how to get out of the engagement of the material body. Out of your causeless mercy, my Lord, you descend to exhibit your different transcendental pastimes, which are illuminating and full of glory. Therefore, I have no alternative but to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. And of course, not like, oh God, I got to do it because I have no alternative. It's a poetic device here. Of course, it's kind of like saying, therefore, of course, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Not like, oh, geez, I got to do it because I have no alternative. Obviously, Narada Muni is not thinking like that. My dear Lord, you are the supreme Parabrahman, and your pastimes as an ordinary human being are another tactical resource, exactly like a play on the stage in which the actor plays parts different from his own identity. I'd love to speak on that, but we're not going to speak on that. There's 2 more verses, and we'll talk more on the next the purport after this. So in text 40, there's no purport, but Narada continues, nonetheless, O supreme truth, playing the part of a human being, I shall tell you what your devotee Yudhisthira Maharaj, the son of your father's sister, intends to do. Because Krishna said, well, what's Yudhisthira going to do now? Because basically, as we're going to find out, Yudhisthira had a choice. And in the last verse, Narada is saying, kind of, and when they say, you say, okay, give me a break. You know already, you're all knowing. But here he's saying, but since you ask and you're playing the part of a human being, I'm going to tell you. And then in text 41, so this is the answer. Desiring unrivaled sovereignty, King Yudhisthira intends to worship you with the greatest fire sacrifice, the Rajasuya. Please bless his endeavor. And here's very important and very interesting purport. So please listen carefully. King Yudhisthira is described here as Parameshtya Kama, or desiring Parameshtya. The word Parameshtya means unrivaled supremacy and also indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead who stands at the very height of all existence. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada translates Narada's message as follows. You have inquired about your cousins, the Pandavas, in the role of their well-wisher, and therefore I shall let you know about their intentions. So intentions are so important in spiritual life. Was his intention, as we see above, unrivaled supremacy? Prabhupada was very fond of this one poem. Let me see if I can find. I had it. It's blocking my vision here. By Chopra, and it's verses supposed to be written by Alexander Selkirk during his solitude abode in the island of Juan Fernandez. Please look at this poem sometime. It's because it's well, actually, am I sharing? But do you see it? You probably don't see it because I'm not sharing that part of the screen. But it's something that probably in two places. So the first line, I'm sure you are familiar. Prabhupada quotes this many times. I am the Lord, or I am the monarch of all I survey. So he's stuck on this island for 4.5 years. It's a whole story about how he got there, which we won't get into. But he's suffering. He said, I'm Lord of all I survey. My right there is none to dispute, from the center all around to the sea. I am the Lord of the fowl and the brute. O solitude, where are the charms that sages have seen in thy face? Better dwell in the midst of alarms than reign in this horrible place. So he's the Lord of all his ways because he's the only person on the island, and he's miserable. And if you go a little further, I think you see something else that Prabhupada quotes all the time, right? How many times have you seen Prabhupada talk about society, friendship, and love? And in the poem, he's longing for that, right? Divinely bestowed upon man. Oh, had I the wings of a dove, if I could fly away from this island, how soon would I taste you again? So Prabhupada was saying that we all desire society, friendship, and love, and it gets us in trouble. So anyway, it's a great poem, and we can see that Srila Prabhupada quoted it. Oh, I think I have to, 1 second. Let me get back to the verses for today. I can do that. Escape. Well, let's see. If I switch over to here, can you see that? Somebody? Are we back on the purport?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So now we're here. Now, please hear me. First of all, may I inform you that King Yudhisthira has all material opulences that are possible to achieve in the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka. He has no material opulence for which to aspire, and yet he wants to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. So why does he want to do that? The Rajasuya sacrifice is when you go around, it's sometimes said that it takes up to 2 years, by the way. And all these smaller kingdoms, you could say, surrender to the one king, the great Raja, and they become, subservient to him. So he has all the opulence already. So why in the world does he want to do this? And here Narada says, only to get your association and to please you. So that we could give a whole class on that, right? Because we have to deal with this material world, just like Rajasuya sacrifice is kind of in that realm. But why do we want to do things? Why do we have to, go to work? Why do we have to do, pay the bills and all these sort of things? Ultimately, we want to get Krishna's association and we want to please him. He wants to worship you in order to achieve your causeless mercy. And I beg to request, and this is also, how great can this be? If you get Narada Muni to go to Krishna and say, please give your blessings to this Yudhisthira. And that's what we want, right? We want Srila Prabhupada, we want Srila Prabhupada's disciples and devotees and Vaishnavas in general to tell Krishna, give Jamuna Jaya a break. Give her your blessings. Give her your mercy. Right? Give Ishwara Sundari your mercy. Don't give Brahmatirtha your mercy. He's already got it. So forget about it. But everybody else. But that isn't even what I want to speak about today. But I just, as reading that, I see, and gosh, it's already 7:30. Since the word Prameshtya may also indicate the position of Lord Brahma, the term Prameshtya Kama is taken here by Srila Prabhupada to indicate not only that King Yudhisthira desired Lord Krishna's association mercy, but also that King Yudhisthira himself possessed Parameshtya, all the opulences of Lord Brahma. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Yudhisthira had a decision to make. Do I deal with Jarasandha or to perform this Rajasuya sacrifice? And we have decisions to make all the time in our lives. And especially when things are going rough. Now, you could say things weren't going so rough for Yudhisthira. The war was over, he won. But there was still this Jarasandha guy to deal with. And yeah, he had a decision to make. So when we have decisions to make in our life, especially when we're dealing with a challenging situation where the external circumstances are not what we want, right? That is Krishna calling us closer to him. And we have to really look into our heart. And I have to look into my heart because I'm not very good at this and say, where is my shelter? Where is my solace? Where is my rest? We have to do this if we want to start, make more advancement in bhakti, and we have to understand that my shelter, my rest, it's not linked to the external circumstances that I'm dealing with, which may be a pain in the tuchus. If you don't know what tuchus means, ask Brahmatirtha. But most of you from New York will know what it means. Because we often look for shelter. I know even myself, what I do when I check out my bank account, financial security or our abilities or our intellect, maybe our strength, our beauty, our family, even ISKCON. We look for shelter in so many places, and these things are all right. But where is that? What's at the actual core? Our ultimate resting place. That we are told again and again, and Yudhisthira is a perfect example of this, deeply in Krishna. The key is the internal condition of our heart. Because there has to be upheaval, and upheaval is meant to bring us closer to Krishna. And often, let's face it, it doesn't always do that. We only focus on the external. And that's what we tend to do, right? We tend to think that if I want Krishna's help, I want his help to change the externals. Whereas what we should really be mainly focusing on, that we have to deal with the externals. I'm not saying, just live in a bubble. But our real prayer to Krishna is to change my heart, let this bring me closer to him through prayer, through sincere prayer. to relinquish our hold on circumstances that already are out of our control, right? It's insanity. Stephen Covey talked about the circle of influence and the circle of concern. And if you work in your circle of influence, that's good. But there's so many things we're concerned about beyond our control, and they just cause a lot of anxiety. So we want to turn our circumstances and our illusory control over them to Krishna. And the result is internal peace, regardless of the external circumstances. And we have to really watch out in our consciousness to be aware when we see discontentment in our heart. And see that discontentment is Krishna calling us closer to him. But we tend to blame what's out there and we miss the point. We miss the lesson. We have to take the lesson again. We have to, we get back to 7th grade. So gradually, as we make advancement, we have to give up the notion that the circumstances have to change for us to be happy. Now, of course, again, we deal with the external circumstance. We deal with finances in our life. We deal with relationships in our life. We deal with if our candidate doesn't win the election or something like that. But our external circumstances, they're dictated by our karma and ultimately by Krishna, his desire, or at least his sanction. And our freedom is in how we respond and our attitude. And that was the whole what we see about Yudhisthira. He had this choice. Okay, deal with Jarasandha or get Krishna's association, do this Rajasuya sacrifice, please, Krishna. And he had the right attitude. He had the right response to the situation. So for us, we take shelter of the process of bhakti. We take shelter of hearing and chanting, and we pray to Krishna and we focus on Krishna instead of the problem. That's a good trick, right? That's not easy. And we try to remember Shastra and remember his power, that his greatest quality is his being Bhakta Vatsal, that he loves his devotees. And then after we've done that, we could turn our problem over to Krishna and say, okay, I surrender. Hare Krishna. And we may sometimes, we get fearful, right? And we feel sometimes not so connected with Krishna. And therefore we have to be hearing about how he has unwavering affection for his devotees, even us who are trying to be his devotees. A great example is Arjuna. Arjuna in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavatam, first canto, the Brahmastra is coming at him. And, I would just say, Krishna, help. But he says, he has prayers. He says, oh, my Lord Shri Krishna, you are the almighty personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone is in the flame of material miseries, can find the path of liberation in you only. And he goes on for 3 more verses before he finally says, there is this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around. Where does it come from? I do not understand. And he basically asks Krishna to help. But he first offers prayers. He first takes shelter. I think we can learn something from that. It's right in the middle of the 7th chapter, the son of Drona punished. So we are asked to have faith. We are asked to, because faith, and experience Krishna's association, his kindness. We're asked to trust that we're not alone, we're not abandoned, we're not forgotten by Krishna. So this is a we talk about being proactive. That's a big word. At least it was 10 years ago in management and things. We act to make an intentional, aggressive, proactive choice of our will. Because fear often increases, faith is weak, and we're challenged to be strong in faith because often, Krishna, I like this saying, we walk by faith, not by sight. Because Krishna, as we probably all have the experience, Krishna's workings, I'm sure everyone on this call has had this experience, is working and he's carrying out something in our life beyond our view. I probably have told this on this class. And I'll make a 10-minute story, 1 minute. But I was introduced to this devotee woman in the 80s. You were actually introduced. You arrange marriages and things. And we met a couple of times, and finally she just said, "Nah, forget it." And I was like, I felt so sorry for myself. And Krishna, what are you doing? And this and that. And then, of course, I was introduced to Ananda Vrindavan Ishwari Devi Dasi, and it was the best thing that happened. One of the best things that happened in my life, besides, of course, Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. But at the time, I was like, "Woe is me," But Krishna had this, what in this case, wonderful plan for me. But so we're asked to walk in that faith, and try to minimize the time between why is this happening to me and Krishna's got a plan for me until it becomes almost simultaneously at the same time. Because time is a factor in these things, and we sometimes become impatient. And Krishna has a different watch than we have. Time can cause a lot of anxiety, and we're asked, utsaha nishtaya dharyat. We're asked to be patient sometimes, and see how this is going to play out, and not say, "Come on, Krishna, this is the last straw. Let me know what to do here," because we sometimes don't know which choice. Yudhisthira, of course, he made his choice based on what was it? What would the purport say? Pleasing Krishna and getting his association. So at least if that's our North Star, and that's what we accept and reject according to, because the mind is always accepting and rejecting. So if we accept and reject according to what pleases Krishna, what pleases the Vaishnavas, what pleases my spiritual master, and if we don't know, we were giving class yesterday in Gainesville. I'm here with Brahmatirtha Prabhu, and I was saying how one of the most important things in advancing in bhakti is friendships. And I was saying that it's a verb. We have to work on friendships. We have to, go out of our way to develop friendships if we don't feel we have deep enough ones or sufficient enough numbers. And that's one way to deal with choices. I was telling Brahmatirtha Prabhu yesterday just some anxieties that caused me in my life. And it was so, he actually gave me very, very, very practical advice in this, but it was just such a relief to not just have it bouncing around in my head, but to get it out there to a very good friend. And so when things like timing is short and we're saying, "Krishna, when are you going to talking to another trusted devotee?" This could be such a great way to and a way that Krishna acts in this world. He acts through his devotees. And that's, when we talk about taking shelter of Krishna and seeking Krishna's association, often that means seeking Krishna's devotees association, seeking Krishna's shelter in that way. So I've talked about a lot of things there, and I was ordered by Ananda Vihari Prabhu to leave time for questions and comments. So let's do that. What are your comments or questions?
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Can we also look at your bank account for peace of mind? Or it's just for you?
That's just between Brahmatirtha Prabhu and I.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, dear devotees, don't be shy, please. Okay, temple room.
Sundarananda says Hare Krishna.
Good, that's a valid comment.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear us? Okay, so, yeah, very wonderful class. Thank you, wonderful class. We relax when we hear you speaking because you're speaking the truth and Krishna's empowering you, spiritual message empowering you. So in the beginning verse, it says that people don't know how to get free from the cycle of birth and death. Right? Remember that, reading that?
It does say that.
And
And then it says
actually,
the solution.
yeah. And it's interesting to remember, it's hilarious. Not only do they not know how to get free from the cycle of birth and death, they don't even know that they're trapped on the cycle of birth and death, you know? Isn't it amazing how we forget that we really have a real problem? Of course, there are immediate sources of anxiety, and we look at them rather than at the big problem. And Nitya, may Krishna continue to bless you with pure devotional service. Nitya Prabhu was telling me that he read this book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Did you ever hear that? Uncle Tom's Cabin? You know that book? I thought it was a book about slavery. I was like, what? He said, no, it's not about slavery. It's a very spiritual book. And I was thinking, what's he talking about? But actually, Uncle Tom was living in Kentucky, and it was kind of a comfortable situation. The slave owner was a very nice gentleman, and he was like a patriarch in the community of people that were supposedly slaves there. Everybody was living together, taking care of the land. But then the landowner owed all this money from a gambling debt, and somebody came and said, "I'm taking your plantation." And he was like really desperate. So he said, "Well, what if I give you some slaves?" He said, "Okay, I'll take some slaves, and I want that big one, Tom, Uncle Tom." So he was like, "Wait a minute," then they put him in chains. He'd never been in chains before. And they put all these guys on a boat, and they were going down the Mississippi River down to the deep South, where slaves live just a few years and get beaten and harshly treated, not like in the northern plantation. So he was on the boat and he was crying like anything. "Oh my God, I lost my family, and I lost my comfortable situation, and now I'm going into this terrible situation." And since he was a religious man, he remembered what he heard from scripture, that there's a peace that surpasses all mundane understanding, like you were saying, exactly like you were explaining, how it is a peace that does not depend on the external circumstances. So he went from crying like anything to saying, "Lord, that's what I want. I want that peace that surpasses mundane understanding, that doesn't depend on external circumstances." And all of a sudden, he stopped crying and he started singing and glorifying God. And it turned out, he said, I'm yours, Lord, I'm yours. Bring me where you want me to bring me. Use me as you want me to use me. And it's a long story, but at the end, he winds up at this plantation where Simon Legree is the slave master, and he's beating everybody, and the slaves are so badly in such bad condition that they even treat each other very badly. And he says, "Lord, that's why you brought me here. You wanted me to tell them about devotional service and about faith and about the fact that we can be joyful and understand that that there's something beyond this world." And he creates a whole revolution among all the slaves there, and they begin to become very Krishna conscious, basically. So there's this situation we're in, and the cycle of birth and death, and there's the immediate uncomfortable situation, and then there's a peace that surpasses all understanding. When you say, "Lord," what does it say? Narayana Parasave Nakati should be spark of bargain arcade. A devotee doesn't care if he goes to heaven or hell. You've heard that before?
Yeah.
We don't care if I was like, wait a minute. We don't care if we go to heaven or hell. And Prabhupada explained that, yeah, because we're interested in devotional service, and we accept the challenges and the the difficulty that Krishna might send, and we want to serve Krishna under any circumstance. And he said, if you bring a wheat threshing machine to heaven, it threshes wheat. If you bring it to hell, it threshes wheat. So wherever we go, we preach the glories of the holy name, and we thank you, Krishna, for everything just as it is. How can I serve you under this circumstance? Krishna is in control, like the peace formula in the Gita. Krishna is our friend, Krishna is in control, and we're supposed to please Krishna. And then there's no problem. Then in this world or the next, we become joyful, not just tolerating, but actually grateful for whatever Krishna sends. I'm sorry to talk so long. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. William?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hare Krishna, thank you for such a wonderful class. I just wanted to share an experience about the mind and trying to serve Krishna at the same time. So I was having a battle with my mind the other day. It was like close to the weekend. I made a schedule of chanting early, really early in the morning, like between 3 and 4 in the morning, so I can get enough of my chanting done for the morning. And kind of divide it in 2 parts. That's the way I do it, but I find it very helpful. So
2 parts like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then, oops, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare.
So what happened was the mother of the children gave me a call. And this was Maya. This was all Maya. So we got into I lost my patience, and I got into a little bit of an argument, and I shouldn't have, but I did. And after the argument, I said, I definitely got to chant. I definitely got to chant this morning. I'm going to go out to the river and I'm going to chant. I live right by the East River, about 2 blocks away. So I head out to the river, but my head is pounding with pain. I'm in so much pain because of my thinking. Why did I allow myself? Why did I allow Maya to win that battle? This was a test. Why? And I keep beating myself up. So I'm in pain. My head is pounding, and I'm chanting, and I'm by the river. So I come back home after my chanting, and I tell my boy, he's 16 years old. I tell him, listen, I'm gonna go to the hospital. Don't worry. I think I'm okay. I just have this pain that's been lasting me for about 18 hours now, since yesterday, since I spoke with your mother. And he started laughing. And I said, why are you laughing? He said, because you let her get to you, Papa. So anyway, I'm going to cut it short to leave other space for other comments as well. But the only point I wanted to make is that, I lost the battle, but then I think I regained it because I took care of myself. I went to the emergency room to get checked out and make sure I was okay. And I said, Krishna, to make it up, I'm going to take my japa bag with me to the emergency room, and I'm going to do some chanting there. So I did some chanting there, and I got into a very interesting conversation with the nurse, who actually, when she came to me, she said, Hare Krishna. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hare Krishna, thank you again,
Yeah.
Prabhupada.
It's so interesting when those things happen. I've had several times. Yeah. Anyway, oh, real quick. What other comments or questions before I tell a few stories? There's Johnny Taipu. One time we were stuck in Alligator Alley. Our car broke down. Alligator Alley is between the east and west coast of Florida, and it's filled with alligators and mosquitoes. Anyway, it was a long story. We were stuck there, and we didn't sleep all night because the policeman told us if we got out of the car, if the alligators didn't get us, the mosquitoes would. So anyway, we were exhausted. We were doing Sankirtan, and I was on. We had to take a bus, and I was on the bus, and they have these messages that go across, digitally across the top of the bus, and it says chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Anyway, later I found out the devotees actually paid for advertising, but I just, or one time I was, how many times, probably all of you have had the example, a couple of times I've just randomly got my seat in an airplane. And one time I sat next to Yogeshwar Prabhu's daughter. And another time sat next to a devotee's wife who I didn't know. And, start these conversations. Krishna just arranges things in our lives sometimes. So, Krishna consciousness becomes exciting when we wake up in the morning and say, okay, what does Krishna have in store for me today? What is the test or the opportunity to remember him or to think of him or to serve him? And then life becomes, interesting to see Krishna's active hand in our life. Then, like it says here, we walk by faith, not by sight, right? And to have that faith that Krishna cares for us. And there's so many good things. Wake up in the morning and thinking of things that we're grateful for. Great way to get, the mind is tricky, and in the morning we're in the mode of ignorance. So therefore we're instructed, right? Pay obeisances to the spiritual master and to Krishna, and get our mind in the right shape. And one way to do that is just think of things that we're grateful for. It's one of the I think I mentioned this in a class here a while ago. The connection, Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj was saying that the link between the material world and the spiritual world is gratitude. And that focusing the mind on things that we're grateful for is our entryway into spiritual consciousness. So there's good things to do to try to capture the mind right in the morning and make it our friend. Udaret atmanatmanam avasadya atmaiva hi atmano bandur. Our mind can be our bandur, our friend, or it can be our vipur, our enemy. And one good way to make it a friend is capture it in the morning. Maybe queue up a lecture or queue up a kirtan, on your phone or something. So right when we wake up, we press that. But somehow or other, get the mind in a good place right away. It really can make a big difference in the rest of our day.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. I thought Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati
Yeah, beat
Thakur
the head.
instructed us to
Yeah.
beat it in the morning, and you're saying we're supposed to put it in the right place. How to balance the two? Are we supposed to
Well,
beat it
maybe
with
the best way to beat it is to have it hear about Krishna.
Yeah, true.
So tamasima jyotir gama. Forget the beating part is tamasima, get out of ignorance. Jyotir, go to the light, and of course the light is Krishna.
Borijan Prabhu would say to treat it like a child, like a baby, and not to beat it, but actually, okay, I hear you. That's okay. But not right now. No, thank you.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Yes.
Good to see you, by the way. I remember him saying that some 25 years ago, your Gurudev.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good, you can kind of play with, listen, I'll definitely listen to you. Absolutely. After I chant my round, kind of like the Haridas Thakur program with the prostitute, no problem, but just let me finish my rounds first. Yeah. I think we've all had the experience when we're in good consciousness, the same external circumstance happens to us that causes us some grief. And when we're in good consciousness, we react in one way, and we're not in good consciousness, we react in a totally different way. And it's the same external thing. I know I've had that, I have that all the time. So how to get in the right consciousness so that we deal with this world in a way that brings us closer to Krishna. And look at Yudhisthira. He made the choice, and the interesting thing in this example is it all, as Jayadvaita Maharaj said, his fourth grade teacher told him, it all comes out in the wash. So he did the Rajasuya sacrifice, and lo and behold, what happened? One king didn't surrender. Who was that one king? Jarasandha. And then a plan was made to take care of Jarasandha, as they say in New Jersey. We're going to take care of him. So they took care of him. And there's a whole plan. But Yudhisthira made the right choice. And then, so it doesn't mean we think of Krishna and then all of a sudden all of our lights turn green and the stock market goes crazy high and, everyone loves us. Not necessarily, but we'll have that inner peace that is inner happiness, inner feeling of being sheltered by Krishna. So let us end 2 minutes early. Is that a good idea, Ananda Bihari?
We'll keep the yagya going until Radha Mulidhar sees us. But
Okay.
you can leave early. You're free to go,
No,
Prabhu.
I don't have to go. I was just,
Yeah.
I just, in general, it's good to end classes early, especially when the next program is Prashadam.
Yeah.
Then everyone's like really happy. But if you go longer,
Jani Thai Prabhu looks like he's in anxiety. He's waiting for
that's because he
Prashadam.
wants to see Krishna.
Yeah.
That's a different anxiety. He's absorbed, as we said in New York.
Yeah. The problem sometimes, Vraj Vihari Prabhu, is that we walk out of the class or the temple room all saintly, but then something happens and we handle it nicely.
Yeah.
And then there's a jerk on the bus. All right, let me handle that. And then you come to work and then there's another jerk there, and they're situated kind of everywhere. And towards 12 noon, you're worn out. You have no long, you can't handle anything anymore. You're no longer saintly. How to last? How do we last?
Yeah, that's kind of natural. And then you just have to, forgetfulness of Krishna, Prabhupada writes, it's natural in the conditioned state, even though it's unnatural ultimately. So, we just keep on keeping on, obviously we know what to do, hear about Krishna, chant about Krishna, but at least the next morning, get back, it's like that story of the person who had indigestion and the Ayurvedic doctor told him to take ghee, which you would think is the worst thing in the world. But just gradually, even though it upset his stomach, it gradually started lining the stomach every day a little bit more, until actually he was cured. So we just keep, keep on hearing and chanting. I mean, you could answer that in so many ways, right? You could say, well, when it gets tough, pick up your beads, read a shloka. Yes, all those things. But just at least in the morning and evening, find Krishna shelter. Obviously, ideally, all day long. Smartavya satatam Vishnu smartavya najatichit. That verse, it says smartavya. If you're smart, that's one way to remember that verse. If you're smart, you'll remember Krishna and never forget him. But that's the goal of sadhana bhakti. So we have to work on that. We are work in progress. Not progress, progress.
Progress, nice.
Yeah, we're a work in progress.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glory to Srila Prabhupada, Yudhisthira Maharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
darshan time. Turn on your cameras if you can, please.
Shri Radha Murida Gaur Chandra Nisima Bhagavan Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow, everybody. I was secretly looking at all of you during darshan, taking darshan of your bright faces. I hope that's bona fide. Okay, anyone wants to speak during the Afterglow? Jamuna Jaya, why don't you speak? Why don't you glorify Krishna?
Okay, I'm on the train platform, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear me. But I was just really appreciating the point about the time that Vraj Vihari talked about, the time between the thing happening and us realizing, oh, this is Krishna's plan. And this is something that's going to be a lesson in it. Then we need to shorten that time, and to understand when we ask for something, where, like what he said, that Krishna's using a different watch than we are. And so I think that's really the thing, because what I know when difficult things come, in hindsight, I do see Krishna's hand, but like after. And the go, oh, go, here comes the train, so I'm going to finish up. So it's to see it when it's happening, so we can really appreciate at that moment.
Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. Thank you. Yeah, I thought so too. I'm so saintly after the fact, 10 years later, I'm very saintly and balanced. But in the heat of the moment, I just can't. I lose it. Yeah, it's a very common curse. So we're all work in progress. That's a good thing that Vraj Vihari Prabhu said. Annabelle, Isaiah, you want to finish it off? She's rolling her eyes up. Yeah, okay. Isaiah is here. All right, Isaiah, unmute yourself. Go for it.
Hare Krishna.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Give it to Krishna. Say Jai at every step, at every stumble.
Jai.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai. Hare Krishna. Yeah, your mind is not your enemy. Your mind sounds like Isaiah. He says, Jai, your mind is a kid. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting perspective, Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Don't beat your mind up. Treat him like a child. Yes, Diva. Right hook. Okay, Hare Krishna.